According to the Air Force's spokesperson Yuri Anat, Ukraine won't be able to use F-16 fighter jets made in the US this upcoming fall and winter. Anat stated at a joint telethon carried by Ukrainian channels, "It's already obvious we won't be able to defend Ukraine with F-16 fighter jets during this autumn and winter." The State Department reported on Wednesday that the U.S. denounced Russia's ongoing attacks on the grain infrastructure in Ukraine and demanded that Moscow rejoin the grain deal right away. After Ukraine claimed earlier on Wednesday that Russia had targeted its grain storage facilities overnight, the deputy spokeswoman for the State Department, Vedant Patel, told reporters that Vladimir Putin did not care about the security of the world's food supply. Despite Russian warnings that its navy could target ships utilizing the Black Sea export hubs, a civilian cargo ship has reportedly departed Ukraine's southern port of Odessa, according to Kyiv. After Moscow pulled out of a crucial agreement last month mediated by the UN and Turkey, which ensured safe passage for grain supplies from 3 Ukrainian ports, the statement raises the specter of a standoff with Russian warships. A drone strike by Ukraine on Russian territory was stopped, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, on Thursday morning. A drone was reportedly shot down over southern Russia's Belgorod region, according to Interfax, which quoted the Defense Ministry. A day after making public comments to the effect that Ukraine may cede territory to Russia in exchange for joining NATO and the end of the war, a senior NATO official has apologized and clarified his remarks. The Chief of Staff to the Secretary General of NATO, Stian Jensen, stated, "I shouldn't have put it that way. My statement on this was part of a bigger debate about potential future scenarios in Ukraine. A mistake was made." According to Ukraine's Deputy Defense Minister, Ukrainian soldiers have taken up positions on the outskirts of Uruzhain after taking it back from Russian forces in the Donetsk area. On Wednesday morning, Hannah Malier wrote on the Telegram chat platform that the community had been freed and that offensive operations were still going on. On Wednesday, the Ukrainian Air Force reported that a sizable contingent of Russian army drones had flown into the mouth of the Danube and were en route to the Izmail River port close to the Romanian border. At around 1:30 in the morning, Ola Kuiper, the governor of the southern Odessa region, issued an air attack alert and then requested that residents of the Izmail area seek shelter. The latest in a wave of aerial assaults near the city, the Russian Defense Ministry reported on Wednesday that it had shot down 3 Ukrainian drones southwest of Moscow. According to the ministry's Telegram post, Ukraine used 3 unmanned aerial vehicles on objects in the Kaluga region to start the attack around 5 a.m. Eva Hartog, a Dutch journalist who has lived and worked in Russia for 10 years, claimed that the Russian government gave her 6 days to leave the country after refusing to renew her visa. Her effective deportation is the latest in a string of similar actions taken by the Kremlin against independent journalists, critical media organizations, opposition activists, and human rights organizations over the past few years. According to reports, Vladimir Putin will meet with Russian policymakers on Wednesday to talk about reinstating certain capital controls to support the faltering ruble. The Financial Times reported that significant exporters would be required to convert up to 80% of their foreign cash into rubles in order to increase the demand for the currency, citing a Russian finance ministry suggestion. Asserting that the alliance's position has not changed in response to remarks made this week by a senior colleague, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said on Thursday that it is up to Ukraine to choose whether the circumstances are right for it to participate in any conversations following the Russian invasion. It is the Ukrainians, and only the Ukrainians, who can decide when there are conditions in place for negotiations, and who can decide at the negotiating table what is an acceptable solution, Stoltenberg said. Adding that NATO's responsibility was to support Ukraine, he said this while addressing a conference in the Norwegian town of Arendal. The declaration came after NATO Chief of Staff for Stoltenberg, Stian Jensen, stated on Tuesday that Ukraine might ultimately cede territory to Russia as part of an agreement to end the war. Later, Jensen expressed contrition for his remarks. Jensen's, message, and which is my main message, and which is NATO's main message, is, firstly, that NATO's policy is unchanged. We support Ukraine, Stoltenberg said. NATO at its summit last month said it will extend an invitation to Ukraine to join the military alliance when members agree and conditions are met, and that the country has the right to choose its own path independently of Russia.